We want to do everything we can to build value rather than cut price, right? And by the way, let's remember it's value in the eyes of the customer. What do they value? It's not always just money. There are other things. Build the value rather than cut the price. Anybody can cut price. So let's try to build value. We talk needs-based benefits. We know what turns them on because we found out in our needs analysis. One of the best examples of the value-price perspective, I had the opportunity a few years ago to address the annual meeting of Jockey International. You know, the underwear people? Don't snicker in a group this size. They're well represented, I'll bet you. How about you, Bubba? What are you wearing today? Never mind, we're not going to go there. All right, anyway, I got Jockey International. I got 800 people from 10 countries. And they're a great group, and everything's going pretty well. I feel like, you know, this is a good speech, wonderful group like you've been. About a month later, I get a phone call. A guy on the other end of the phone said, Don, this is Don Haney calling. He said, I heard you speak the other night at the Jockey meeting. I said, terrific. I guess you're with Jockey. He says, as a matter of fact, I'm not, Don. He said, I'm the president of a firm that is Jockey's principal supplier. He said, Don, the reason I'm calling you is nobody in our company has heard you speak but myself and our chairman of the board who heard you the other night with me at that Jockey meeting. He said, we're having our annual meeting. We want our people to hear your message, Don. He said, the date is Saturday, September 22nd. Can you make it? I said, you're gracious to invite me. Let me check my calendar. Well, you got to know I love to sell dates on a calendar like you love to sell one more home, right? I'm looking at my calendar. Saturday, September 22nd is open. But it is preceded by a dynamite week. I'm leaving town the previous Sunday at 5:30 in the afternoon. I got 6 appearances in 6 cities in 5 days. I'm scheduled to get home Friday evening at 11:15 p.m., and he wants Saturday. Wow. With a week like that, my mental image of the value of earning one more speaking fee is only this big. Price I got to pay to violate my pledge to those kids. It's when they were little, and I always promised if I'm out of town all week long, I will be with you kids on the weekends. Price I got to pay is this big. Just like you saw on the screen. So what did I say? I don't see any way I can make it. You're gracious to invite me, but boy, that's one tough time. I don't think I can make it that week. He said, well, Don, don't give up so easily. I said, oh? He said, Don, would it intrigue you at all to learn that we're having our program this year at the 5,000-acre horse farm of our chairman of the board? I said, 5,000-acre horse farm? That sounds incredible. See, he had heard me use a line about my wife who was into the Tennessee walking horse business. It was for me about like supporting a heroin habit. He remembered that line. He said, Don, we're going to have our meeting at the horse farm. I said, wow, that sounds terrific. I said, but I got to be frank with you, she doesn't normally travel with me and I'm allergic to horses. Didn't slow him down a bit. He said, Don, as I understand it, the problem is on Saturday, September 22nd, you have a need to be with your family. Is that the problem? I said, man, you got it. That's the problem. He said, is that the only problem? Down in Memphis, we call that setting the hook. I said, yeah, that's the problem. He said, well, Don, let me try this one on you for size. He had even heard me use some of my aviation stories about my interest in flying. He said, Don, how about if on Saturday morning, September 22nd, you and your wife and your kids be at Memphis International Airport at 10 a.m., and we'll just send our company Learjet down to pick you up. What is this guy doing to me? This guy's building value, and he's good. And I said, wow. And I was getting all excited. He said, Don, would you ask your wife for something for me? I said, anything. He said, I just want you to know, Don, before we put all this together, I'm going to have a talk with our helicopter pilot, and I'm going to tell him. I said, wait a minute, you're moving a little fast for me. Are you trying to tell me you got a helicopter pilot flying a Learjet? He said, no, Don, you got to listen to the rest of the game plan. He said, here's what I want to ask you. I want you to ask your wife. He said, have you ever experienced a cool, crisp, early autumn Saturday morning in central Kentucky, where you get in a Jet Ranger helicopter and you climb out 200-300 feet and you just see fog and clouds? But you climb on out 300, 400, 500 feet, Don. He said, you look around and all of a sudden you realize the clouds are parting, the fog is dissipating, you see blue sky and sunshine above. You look down, Don, and that's when you see those rolling bluegrass hills of central Kentucky. He said, Don, you look a little more closely, you begin to see those white partitioning fences and those prancing racehorses in their morning run. He said, Don, have you ever seen that from 600 feet in a Jet Ranger helicopter? I said, not lately, brother. I haven't. This guy is an extremely talented value builder. I said, well, I know it must be a beautiful layout. He said, no, in just a minute. He said, we're going to get you over to the meeting site. He said, we're going to let you give that speech. Stick around for the social hour if you're so inclined. Then whenever you're ready, we're going to get you and your wife and your kids back on the Jet Ranger helicopter, back to the Lexington airport, back on the Learjet. We're going to have you back in Memphis at 3 o'clock that afternoon. I said, man, let's book the program. Forget the fee. No, I didn't say that. We ought to build the value, not cut the price, right? You guys have been a great audience today. I want you to remember the words of the great theologian Phillips Brooks, who said, few things are more powerful in life than the individual who is seen by others as the contagion of a victorious personality. And that's you, and that's going to help you be an even bigger legend than you already are. Thank you very much.